Hi everyone. I would like to talk about something which is very interesting. I don't think anyone's ever talked about it, but I will share this aspect of my mind with you. I would like to title this episode called Discover the Voice. And when I say that, you might wonder whose voice are you discovering? And I'm not going to give you an answer because you need to go discover the voice. So what is discover the voice? The voice is the earliest recollection you have of your own life, but it has to be seen here. It has to be real for you that you are this real because of these realities. You see, similar to how we have personalities made from many different scenes of man's actions, depending on the people you see. So similarly, who we are and the forms that we make are being utilized from a formless stature. And I don't know what that would mean to you, but it means that, for example, you have an idea to build a statue, but you haven't built the statue yet. So it's just an idea. That's the form it exists in. So when I say discover the voice, generally I will say this is called discover the voice of life, discover the voice of existence. In other words, communicate with things that are questioning or you're questioning, and see what their answers is. In other words, discover the voice means you have to hear something you haven't yet heard. What is that sound? And that missing sound cannot be found in a timed and spaced box. It is something that can't be boxed. So it is not based on the surviving temptations of man's animalistic form. I'm talking about an observance you're going to have, which I'm calling right now, discover the voice. So the voice is, first of all, heard in pure silence. There's literally no voices. You're in complete silence. Now, regardless of if you move or not, depending on what your comfortable is, the voice is actually not a voice in the beginning. In other words, when you search for it, you're like, where's this voice? I can't find this voice, this greater knowing, this origin of my origin. You're seeking the voice of creation, the voice of life. Whatever word we put for it, you are seeking something. And therefore, you're going to discover something. So you have to go through a new sense of vision, which establishes the observance that you need. Feel the silence. In this silence, you will realize that my voice is beside many other thoughts that you're having right now, because my voice is a thought. It is a specific thought based on the design of my voice. I am speaking to you. That's one voice. So you see, you become aware that of the thought forms that voices become for you. And so, if you're observing all those forms, what is this unknown sense of voice that's the origin of your origin? When do you hear that voice? Well, you begin with your knowing, actually. You see, you ask yourself, okay, how would I know? Or what would I know when I hear the voice? What is the difference in knowing? And you see, what you know now is that you have a certain definition for a sound. But sounds cannot be defined. They are simply frequencies of, let's say, noise. In other words, they're not noise, they're only noise to us, to the degree that we hear. In other words, you become aware of what the human fabric is, and you touch it. You need to experience yourself as a human being, and you have so far. So don't think you have nothing. You have the life you lived and the life you're living. Now I'm saying pay attention to the life you're living right now. Because before anything else, we need to work with who we are. We need to see that if we want to discover the voice, that means we want to hear something that this sense of self can't. So how can this sense of self change? Then you see that conditions The reason you're not changing, perhaps, or you feel you haven't heard the voice, is because you're lost in a condition that is defining it's measuring your vision in a sense where it's defining its limitation. In other words, you see that there is no reason for you not hear the voice. You can hear the voice. What's changing you? The discovery is actually a self-discovery. It's like when you realize a formless presence within yourself, you trust the knowing that, how's it going, man? The formless presence is aware of. When I say formless presence, you need to understand, in the world of language, the ideas that communicates is limited. You see, sometimes we can have desires for things that are not even verbalized. In other words, a desire to discover something new. It's like, no, I have an interest in something that no one's ever done. But I am saying that we want to start providing answers that suggest the peak of our evolution in regards to how we approach them. In other words, if we have a problem, let's say, discovering the voice, we want to hear our origin, well, we see that the word hear is close to here, and so when we think about our origin being right here, we realize it's our conception of what here means, that there is even a value for there, In other words, regardless of the sounds that your mouth is making, regardless of the ideas that you are holding, organically and temporally, because ideas fade after some point, you are choosing how deeply you want to hear things in your life. And that depth is not verbal. In other words, you realize that this is for a certain set of range of people, because not everybody's interested in the idea of intuition. They're more interested in the idea of tuition, not intuition, right? So intuition is a knowing that is not based on form, but it has seen where the form is going. In other words, imagine you have whatever you're doing in life, but sometimes you see there's this natural guiding system that it's as if life is giving you clues where to go, where the next step is, and the only way you can see them is by becoming sensitive to what you are. The more aware of who you are you become, the more you realize the purpose of that who, because you are never alone. What that means is that if we believe we have been active in our lives and we've been points of communication have memory. And when I say memory, it's as if they're present here, regardless if I forget it. It's here. There's an access to any idea. In other words, I could talk about anything and sets of my own intuitive knowing come by. It's, in other words, what are the words that I am aligning to communicate how I perceive, let's say, a certain topic. So I understand it's not about the topic, it's about the experience of the topic we're talking about. And when you observe experiences and you are aware of that state, then you have a healthy way. You diffuse all the negativity which you are believing is within the cause of your problematic condition. So you see, guys, mental clarity is simply being at peace with yourself. And what that means is it's an abstract idea. Don't try to organize it. Just relax for a second. Some people are too inspired by lawyers too much, where they have to have laws to express themselves based on truth. You see, your internal vision must always be greater than your external step. In other words, the external step you're taking. In other words, I understand that it is my choice how I create my mental structure, and I need to be aware I am given a structure by the conditioning that is my childhood. However, if I am aware of my presence and ideas and thoughts now, completely now, in pure silence and stillness, I realize that I am a creative thinker in a subtle or sensitive way of my own memory. And what that means is that you realize that existence is teaching you how to exist, how to live. Life is teaching you how to live. You just need to hear it. Because once you do that, you realize that there is guidance here. Guys, let's just think about our technology evolving to a point where every human being is alive and lives in this utopia, right? Well, that's nice, but eventually utopia is going through processes of change. If it was always a utopia, that'd be off. There has to be the combination, the change, the duality that is deciding how our functions are and our forms. So, once you're aware of structure, form, you notice that a part of you is analyzing things, and it's okay, let it. It's okay to analyze things. You don't want to judge it. You don't want to put your hands in the glove. You just want to see the gloves. You just want to see the presence of your idea, right? And you realize you choose the intensity of judgment you have with your thoughts. And these are based on experiences because if you are a person who's observant of your experiences, there's no need for you to react to things. You're calm. It's as if you're at a state of awareness where if something like immediate happens where you have to alter your physical place, let's say, how you move or something, you can do it efficiently. It's pretty much knowing by the moisture of the air when it's going to rain. It's like, use that as a metaphor of you realize your greatest expression should be always realized right now. And the reason is because we understand that life is a sensitive process, that death is the next door, and that door might come knocking at us at any point. And so we need to appreciate what's here, but we also need to explore and find the greatest treasure of our moments. We need to see why. We need to explore our consciousness, because guys, trust me, once your attention is no longer just physically focused, you realize that there was this flexibility in regards to how your thoughts were maintained you could have had. It's as if you could view your body not just, let's say, through your physical eyes, but an awareness to your space, as if you were not, I don't want to say hovering, but you were like, it's as if being the space in the room rather than the body. So once you have the space awareness, you realize it's as if everything is keeping you alive. And what that means is it's like the vibrations, it's very, the same life source that is maintaining life here is working through us, but it's working through us behind a veil of mental intelligence. In other words, thoughts cannot touch it because thoughts cannot see it, so they're grabbing the wrong things. So that ideas and their voicing too much keeps us away from the voice of existence, for the voice of now. And your intuition is your knowing. And guys, you must trust your intuition, because your intuition it's as if intuition, in my view, of course, is your greater sense of knowing apparent now in a shapeless manner. It's as if you're aware of the steps you have to take, and before you take them, you create that sense of reception. You open your ears. You search so deeply that the door has to open. And you don't have to break the door, but you have to persist, because sometimes we're convinced by the most immediate ideas that hide the good ones. There's nothing wrong with who you are. Do not keep judgment with yourself, especially when you seek the voice. Discover the voice is that silent knowing that has always spoken. It's that knowing within you that knows what you're going to do even if something doesn't work out. It's this inner presence, okay? I mean, we should amplify to a point where the human being is having complete experiences in multi-level degrees. It's as if it's not, we are this formless cloud that is, present in many different spaces. We are multi-dimensional experiencers. So at some point we realize that our creativity will step up and it will become our reality. It's as if once the human being realizes it can create holograms, it can experience those holograms. You become more sensitive to your thoughts, and they're alive. They communicate. Thoughts were never dead. They were based on an intelligence we could not understand, because it is the reception point. It's as if our eyes are the storyteller's eyes, but we never could know the story of the intelligence of the storyteller if we were a character that doubted its connection to it, you know? Self-awareness is a bubble of presence that eventually bursts to all that is. And when I say bubble of presence, you need to understand there are formless energies, let's say, and actually, no, not energies. There are, let's say, formless bubble presences. That's what I call them. It is that observance of what you're observing. It is the most immediate form being looked at it from a higher view of itself. And so, discover the voice. Understand that silence is an opening. But your voice is your intuition, and you need to understand, you need to be tolerant enough when you, let's say, meditate or cultivate insight or, observe your life or think about your life. You need to be tolerant enough to accept new ideas of yourself to see, In other words, if you suddenly see from your inner knowing this idea comes in of, oh, I have an ability in art, but I'm not using it, I should, you follow that gut instinct, that intuition, that calling, that inner calling, and that inner directive, right? In other words, internally, we're always aware of the direction we're going, so when we ask, we can receive it in any form. Guys, because the decisions you're making are suggesting your bubble of presence and what energies can attract to it. In other words, if we're each different bubbles of vibration and presence, regardless of the string theory that we envision now to be our truth in some way, some paradoxical way, you notice this grandness of how our energies reveal themselves to us. And guys, you need to understand, I'm also, I guess, a poet as well. And what that means is I like playing with metaphors in my mind. And so I bring existential metaphors that naturally flow out, as if I don't think of the poem, but this is what the moment produced. It's the full allowance of what kind of song or poem or whatever hymn that is written, right? So I will suggest that understand that the poet tries to discover the voice through a playfulness by understanding that it could be any spectrum of experience. It's as if once you realize you could be just like that criminal and you could have many other experiences instantaneously, simultaneously, you wonder about the experience you're having now. There is, it's very hard for me to explain, but I have visions that our future, in regards to extraterrestrial contact, would be to experience consciousness based on an ability to create locality through, I guess, access point. It's as if the observance, it's as if the ability to conceive. How good of a storyteller suggests the intelligence of your presence and its locality. In other words, we will experience multi-locality, which is very hard to explain at this point. As in that when your consciousness observes itself through all your vision, through all your eyes, you begin to discover new eyes that suggest your existence and memories. It's as if memories can be passed down and they're cosmically connected. What is a download is an application and activation of certain identities that create a harmony, a sound, an idea that is new. Therefore, the novelty in your life suggests the allowance you're giving for yourself to be guided and to enjoy this roller coaster ride. And understand that love is an important atmosphere to have and be in. Because when you love things, you're not attached in a sense. And when I say love, you don't love the thing. You just love your moment of experience, so you're not attached to anything of it. And trust me, this takes you far because your life becomes more exciting because you're seeing more things. And that is when, the moment you discover the voice, you realize it was always your voice and never your voice. It's as if once man saw that it's clay body would break, it began to think of the hands that shaped it. And in thinking of those hands, recognized that life is within every moment that opens up a process. The voice is the moment. And you and anything you conceive is part of that voice. And it is based on your allowance to let go of any idea you have, to close your eyes and think about what love means to you and reach the peak of understanding that the greatest love is the love of existence, that you love everything that exists. And it's as if you love the infinite presence of everything that has been here. In other words, through your temporalness and your acknowledgement of your temporal self, you let yourself break in the gratitude of the experience that you have received. And once you leave with gratefulness, you recognize you appreciate things, so you feel you deserve more things. So in other words, your choice of lifetime becomes choice of the greatest love, and you will gravitate towards the greatest love. This poet again, Rumi, had this quote, and I believe the quote was, let me actually find it, because it's a very good quote. Just hold on, guys. Here, I found the actual quote, so thank you, Steve Jobs. Let yourself be drawn by the stronger pull of that which you truly love. Let yourself be drawn by the stronger pull of that which you truly love. And this is important, because you guys need to understand, this is one of the most greatest advices to humanity. We are being pulled towards a direction. We only know that direction by understanding what true love really means to us. And to see that in an attached way and a detached way. In a very observant way and in a very non-observant way. Because even that non-observance is a sense of observance. It is the ability in which you discover within yourself that suggests the greatest vision you can have of yourself. You need to find yourself to the core. You don't want to be an artist who has the mask of an employee on his face. You need to discover yourself and be just like how so many people have been in the past, such as Da Vinci. They were polymaths. They would have an understanding of life to a degree that it gave them an ability to behave wisely in many other areas. You see? Because any art form suggests the experience that one receives perhaps through dancing. When there is dancing without thought, that is a powerful channel for energy. You don't understand this, but when people dance to a degree where it's no longer their thought process dancing and they're just experiencing life at that dimension, it is a very observant and, in a sense, out of body consideration experience. You look at the sky and you see all the stars. So the voice involves an act of self-discovery to actually hear it. And once you hear it, trust me, you've always heard it. And let that be a riddle until you actually go experience this, guys. So I'm suggesting an activity in silence, in comfort, in love. Think about yourself and reveal greater insight into what you are. Because believe it or not, it doesn't matter what I say. It's up to you to choose how far you want to see. It doesn't matter what is motivating, what isn't motivating. At some point, you don't care. You understand that the purpose of your presence is to bring forth clarity. And that is one of the most efficient things. So how do you bring clarity? By being observant. And how do you be observant? Oh, that is where you understand that you can be observant any moment, but because you're too attached to distractions, you cannot see the pure, you cannot see the complete light of it. You see, you cannot play with dolls and consider yourself, for example, not a puppeteer, Sometimes we embrace definitions that to us define a more free sense of us. You see, freedom is a multi-layered idea. Freedom begins from freedom from a process, from freedom from change, to freedom from idea, Freedom is many levels because information is affecting us. The information that people are making their next decisions from or by making their next decisions because of. So we see that the greater entity that is controlling man is the ideas that man is presented with and which are accepted. In other words, the more you accept ideas of a hurtful world, the more you have voted for some form of energy to present that kind of thing. But the more you perceive, let's say, a more beautiful world, a world where peace is found within everything, just as the light of existence shines everything. And so as you see this, you become capable in understanding how you are always your understanding, how there's this great observance which is within you and is you. Guys, do not take the word is lightly, because existence is the greatest teacher, because it puts the student there in the first place. So to access this, you must open that feeling of your greater centering, and through that discover the voice. Thank you.